Hello, everyone. I am super duper excited to welcome Daisy. She is one of my coworkers and absolutely amazing at all things block theme, and that's what we're working on today. So, hi, Daisy.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you. Florida Coder Man, welcome. Hi, glad to have you here. If anyone's in the chat and I haven't said hi to you, then just drop a little wave, and we'll get into it. I have to say that I owe you guys all a big thanks. You all a big thanks, because now I'm officially an affiliate for Twitch, which is awesome and hilarious all at the same time. Let's get into it. So if you looked at the title of the stream, we're going to be doing stuff with block-based themes today. So everything that we've done on the stream up to now has been building custom blocks, doing block stuff, but now we're building a whole theme out of them. So I don't know anything about it. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I know a little bit about it, but Daisy knows all the things about it. So she is going to tell me what to click and type badly, and we are going to get this all set up. So where do we start, Daisy? What do you want to do first?
Where do we start? So I think the best place to start is by looking at a block theme that already exists, and kind of like I think the best example of where block theming is right now is the 2022 theme, which will be the core theme for WordPress 5.9.
Cool.
It does a good job of showing examples of all the things that we would want to do in a basic block theme.
Awesome. So I went ahead and downloaded it from GitHub. So I'm going to drop the link to the repo in the chat here for anyone that wants it. Because
it's also
find it
in the repo.
Is it? Is like
I
which
so.
the Gutenberg? What, the core
Is
repo?
it? I think so.
Because when I
could be
tried
wrong.
to find it in, I just did a quick search. So maybe it is in here. So let's look. 2022. Yeah, it's not in there yet. Oh, thanks for the follow, dgamber89. So anyways, if it's available, download it through here. If it's not, you can go to the repo that I just linked and download it as a zip, which I've already done because I kind of knew what she was going to say. So we're going to upload this one. I'm going to upload a theme. I've got it here on my desktop somewhere. So we'll grab that and upload that, install. Yes, Tom from WP Discord. We are going to build one from scratch eventually. Probably get started today. That the plan is I have a really bad design. You guys are going to love my design abilities. Colorblind web developer should not be a designer, and that's me. So I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't be a designer. Anyways, I'm going to activate the 2022 theme. It's right here. And, okay, it's available. So I'm talking too much. Daisy, you need to be talking more. I will shut up.
Okay. All right. So let's dive right into the code, because I think that's really the best way to get an idea for how it all works together. So first thing is, in order for WordPress to identify that this directory actually is a theme and not just some random group of files that you've added to the directory, it needs one specific file, which is your style.css. That has not changed. That has always been the case. So you will see a style.css. Typically, as we move more into blocks controlling our sites and being much more flexible for content creators and even developers to use the block editor to build the site, there's going to be a lot less CSS involved. And but this file still needs to be there because it's where all of the metadata about the theme exists. Particularly
like the stuff that you would
everything that we're seeing now on the screen is what's here is what's needed if you're going to have your theme in the repository. So there's a list of things that need to be there. As far as what WordPress actually needs, it's the theme name. So if you're not going to distribute your theme and you just want to get a quick dirty version up and working, you can just include a theme name, but including all that other information can help you to identify if your style.css got used somewhere else, or if somebody wants to contact you because they saw something. I don't know. There are all kinds of reasons to try to include all of these data points. But as far as WordPress is concerned, technically it's the theme name that's the most important.
Cool.
So that we will be doing that. That will be the very first thing that we put into our theme, because that's the thing that lets WordPress see it. The next thing is going to be an index.php file, and there should be one in this theme.
Yep,
so if you want to navigate to that, it's empty. There's just some code. There's just a comment that says why it's empty.
Yeah. Is this file is still required, right? Like
for right now, it is still required. If you look at that track ticket link, what it says is that they're working towards removing the requirement.
Oh, cool.
If it's a block theme. So until then, we do need the file. Right now, that ticket looks like it's tagged for 6.0, which isn't really that far away. So whether or not it makes it, who knows? Yeah. But there is a patch, so we'll see.
It's just good to know that's required. Yeah. So okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone. Not just guys. The music on. Yeah, I did leave it on purpose, but if it's too loud, I can go ahead and get rid of that. Let me drop that down a bit. Yeah, audio issues. Just like welcome to my stream where you can't hear me and then it's too loud. Is that better? I dropped it off. Just let me know if it's super annoying and I'll just mute it entirely. So, anyways, sorry, Daisy. Okay, cool. So we need style.css. We need index.php. Those things, if you're used to theming in general, those would not be new to you. As a requirement, but okay. What's the next thing?
So at this point, we would be able to activate our theme. It wouldn't show anything, but it would actually be an active theme. So, but we don't want just a white screen for our website. Typically, that's not very helpful to anyone.
No. Most PHP developers would cry if they saw one of those. So.
Exactly. We would be heading to the error log, wondering what happened. Fortunately, that won't be too much of a problem. So hopefully, because
you haven't seen me live code yet, so you don't know.
Well, we're not really using that much PHP today. There will be some,
there we go.
But not a lot. So the next file that we would add that will be familiar and empty to start with, although I think we will be adding some things to it as we go along, is the functions.php file. Because the WordPress API is still available to us. So we will be doing things. If you can see what some of the code that has been added to this particular theme, we are hooking into some actions. We're enqueuing scripts. There are other things you could do. You could hook into the header and the footer. You could, hook things into any of the WordPress hooks and/or anything that's added by a plugin.
Yeah. And this is a great file when you're building themes, this is a great sort of entry point for all of your other stuff. If you want to include classes, you want to include files. Like I tend to not just do everything in functions.php if there's lots to do. I'll put the PHP files like in an includes directory and then pull them in here. So it's kind of like a nice entry point. I mean, it's not required strictly, is it? You don't need it.
You don't have to have it, but I always include it because I know that I'm going to need it for something. So
Anoop, welcome. Thank you for joining.
All right. So those are the classes. So let's just run through a couple of terms because they're going to come up as we go along. What we are referring to an old theme, like the theming that we are accustomed to, that we've been using since I think like WordPress 1.2 when the theme system was originally created. We're calling those classic themes. They are still fully operational. They will continue to be operational for the foreseeable future because they are what power 43% of the internet basically. So so you don't have to worry about that going away right now, but we're moving more towards what we're going to be talking about as we go through this series. And there are going to be some files that are new to us. And the first one, and then we have block themes or block-based themes. You'll hear both, but that's what we're moving towards. And in between the two, you have things like you might hear terms like universal themes or hybrid themes, where you might have a theme that has all of the parts for both a classic and a block theme, depending on like whether or not the block theme functionality is available. And then a hybrid theme would maybe have some aspects of a block theme, but be largely classic. An example of that would be that a classic theme that just adds a theme.json file, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, would be a hybrid theme, because we're starting to tap into some of the power of block theming without actually being a block theme. So let's go ahead and move on to that. Let's look at the theme.json file. What theme.json is a configuration file. We're basically feeding a bunch of defaults and presets and preferences into the block editor so that it can kind of like get us a head start on what we want to see in the editor itself. So there are a number of sections that we will go through. And today, I think we'll talk about schema, which is super cool. And I'm so excited that it's a thing. We'll talk about version, and we'll talk about settings. And then later on, we'll probably move more into styles, which is like all of your defaults. It's like where you would determine what your primary background color starts as, with the ability to then change it within the interface. So it's a JSON file, so it's formatted in a pretty familiar way if you've seen JSON files before. A series of object value pairs.
I want to caution too that like there's a lot in here, and I can imagine there are some folks right now going, oh, what like that's exactly how I felt about it, but don't worry about it. We're gonna go through it not line by line, but we're gonna go through it section by section. It'll start to all make sense. But it's so big because it's the configuration for your entire theme, and how a lot of your blocks work, and how a lot of, saying customizations for blocks and things like that. So we're going to get through it. I'm going to be learning a lot because I know a little bit about the schema, a fair amount about the schema, but actually working with it's going to be a lot of fun. And we are actually, the core team is working on the schema to be a bit more, I just merged a couple of things yesterday to make the schema a bit more specific, because there's a lot of like valid versus supported, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But anyways, let's what do you want to do next, Daisy? You want to just start making a theme, or is there more you want to discuss?
Let's just look through a few other things that are in this. So there are two other directories that are in this theme that are specific to block themes that you will definitely have. One is parts, and the other is templates. If you've been following along with block theming up until now, it would have been custom templates and template parts, I think, were the names of the directories, but they've been simplified down to just a single word now. And that should be what's hitting WordPress 5.9. So, and so the idea is that if you think of classic themes where you would have your template files, you would have your index.php, a home.php, or a frontpage.php, or a archive.php, single.php, all of those files that are part of the template hierarchy, those are the things that are going to go in here, with an important difference. Instead of them being PHP files, they are actually HTML files with an HTML extension on them. So if you look inside of any of these HTML files, what you're going to see is just HTML markup.
And this is and this would be very familiar for anyone that's seen how a block is saved to the database, basically. And on, like, I've shown this a few times on the stream. These are just references to blocks. So you can think of it like templates are made up of parts, basically. Do you still use PHP when making block-based themes? Yes and no. Did Daisy probably answer the question?
The only place I think where you would you don't have to use PHP to make a block-based theme. There are ways to get around a lot of things. A lot of things that previously would have been like whether or not you wanted to support certain features, previously they would have needed to be in the PHP file. But if you there are, for a lot of things and a growing number of things, they've been added as flags, like toggles basically in the theme.json file, so that you can potentially create an entire theme with no PHP.
Yeah.
There's still PHP happening because it's WordPress, and WordPress is still built on PHP, but
Yeah.
this new system is going to open doors for people with more design leanings and less back-end leanings to be able to get involved, which is going to be really interesting to see over time.
Yeah. I think, Tom, like, to answer your question, I don't like, you don't need to use PHP anymore. Like the like, as you can see with this, like, if you look at the the index, like, we're basically just creating a bunch of wrapper divs and elements, and then like the blocks are building out the content. So all that stuff where we would be like escaping string translations and hard coding things and all of that stuff, that's all handled on the block level now. Now, I'm sure you can do some funky things where, you're embedding some PHP inside HTML, and like there's probably some parsing things that you can do, but I don't think there's much need for PHP beyond the functions file and queuing and adding actions and filters and maybe adding theme support stuff. But even the majority of that stuff, I believe now, is all handled in theme.json, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I was actually thinking about this morning, I'm going to segue just a little bit because it's somewhat related to this, that your templates and parts are purely HTML. They're not going to have any PHP in them because you can't parse PHP from an HTML file. But what could be a thing, and it might already, I don't know, is to have like a block that was a do action block. And so that you could then hook in via the block to run your PHP. Of course, I'm saying that as just a concept. I don't know that it would be a good idea. I don't know what the security implications of all that would be. But if you had a well-designed block that really was just hooking into a point in your theme, then it would be a way to tap the PHP in without creating a brand new block. So, like if you were using a theme framework previously, like Genesis, where it has a whole system of actions that you can use to like insert content in different places across your site, a block like that would also allow you to do something like that. And it may actually already, exist. So I see a question I'm going to address now. So would you have to regex out all the commented HTML? And the answer is no. WordPress is handling that for us. All of this commented HTML is what lets WordPress see that it's a block. And also,
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's not going to make it, as long as everything is working correctly, you don't have a bunch of typos, and it's all valid block markup. What's going to get out to the front end is pretty clean. So
and that's a follow-up question to CrossKey's other question about headless WordPress. So if you're using headless WordPress, you're probably still tying into the APIs, the REST endpoints, and all that stuff to get the content out, or you're creating some kind of custom one. So you shouldn't. I don't know. Like, you're probably not using themes in the strictest sense of WordPress themes if you're using headless. Like, if you're using headless, typically you have like a React or a Vue or whatever front end, and WordPress is just powering that. So I don't see it being difficult because the content is still coming out of the database as parsed content. If that makes sense. I'm also using the theme layer to hydrate JS. Okay. I think we'd probably need to see the specifics of what you're trying to do to answer the question a little better. But in theory, those two things are decoupled, and the way that WordPress parses its blocks, and there's a function called parse blocks, and you should go and take a look at it. And it basically takes those HTML comments and removes them, and then turns them into an actual function, a block. And yeah, WP GraphQL does some really cool things. Jason Ball has done some really awesome work on that, so you can definitely use that too. But headless is a whole stream thing, and it's like we could do tons and tons and tons of topics on that. It's really cool though. Great question. So thank you. It's okay. Sorry,
All right.
Daisy, continue.
No,
Continue.
it's all good. Okay, so the next thing I want to mention is that when you see this file and you're like, oh wow, that's a lot of like structured markup that I have to memorize so I can type it all out by hand, and you will not be doing that. You can go in, once you created it, you can probably go in and tweak it a little bit here and there, but the way that the block code is structured is very specific, and the best way to work with it is in the block editor. So we're actually going to be using WordPress as our IDE, sort of. Not really, but in a way, because we're going to let WordPress generate all this markup for us. And then we're going to copy it out. There are a couple of different ways to do that. And we're going to put it in our file and we're going to save it. And then we have our theme. So instead of building it all by hand in a text editor, we're going to try to use some tools that have already been created. Now that is true for our template files and our part files. For our Theme.json file, we're going to be relying on the schema to help us along as we go through and add all of the things. So the schema is going to give us little tips about what would work in each area. So I think that pretty much covers what we're going to be doing initially. There are a bunch of other directories that are in this theme that are more like your includes directory, your assets. Those are just like things that you would add on and then hook in from your functions.php, just like most developers always would have. There is one section that I hope we'll have time to go through at some point during this series, which is in the, I think it's includes. Inside of includes is a patterns. So there are some block patterns registered by this theme. Block patterns are really, really useful, especially if you're going to be doing client work where they have very specific requirements that they would use again and again to insert a partially configured group of blocks so that they can just make a few changes, publish it, and stay within their branding guidelines and not have to build it all from scratch. Patterns are really helpful for that. And so they're pretty easy to create too. They are PHP files, but most of what's in that PHP file is HTML. So
they're super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
And while we have been promoting, the community has been promoting the block pattern directory pretty heavily, where you would create a pattern on this third-party site or paste the code into your site, this is showing how you would register a block pattern just for your own site, which from a developer standpoint is much more useful.
Sure is. Cool. All right. So
let's start making a theme, you think?
All right. Yeah. What did I call that thing? Twitch theme.
Twitch streams, I think.
Yeah, that's something else I did. Just ignore that. I don't know what that is. I'm going to create a new folder here. So Daisy and I are going to try to do some live coding, like sharing. So VS Code's got this really cool extension that we're trying out where I've started a session and I sent her a secret link and then she can get in here and edit on my machine as well. So we're going to see how that goes. I
suppose I should click the link now.
Yeah.
I should have probably done that before.
Well, we should have had that set up. I should have had that set up before we started streaming. So if you noticed, I was passing secret messages. That's what it was. Cool. So the first thing, one thing about it is that anything that I have get ignored, she can't see, which is why I have unignored 2022, which I'm going to actually just ignore it again because I don't need it. And then, so we have this Twitch theme, so she should be able to see this now. I've updated the get ignore. Anyways, we're fine there. So now what? What do I do? Oh, you joined. Awesome. Okay, so you're in.
I am in.
Okay,
yep.
So I'm in a theme folder. I've created the directory that I want to call it. So if I remember correctly, we need to have a style.css, right? Mm-hmm. And then there.
And I always just go find another theme and copy it over.
Yeah.
So much easier than writing it all out.
It sure is. maybe somebody will write an extension. I'm gonna not an extension, but an extension for VS Code. So I'm gonna call this Twitch theme. Twitch theme. There we go. Okay.
And then you could delete all the URI and author and all that stuff.
That's gonna get all that stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna switch over to just before we get into, so I do this all the time. I'm using local as my local development environment. No particular reason. It's just easy to set up. You can use whatever you want, and I have my iTerm set up here. There is a branch cut for this, so we've already installed that theme. I'm gonna refresh this, and now we can see down here. It's called Twitch themes. I don't know why that's there. That's weird. And I'm gonna activate it. And we're gonna go look at the front end, and that's what we got. So this is all. This is the site that I've been using for all the streams. So you can see we've got all of our block things in here. Great, done. All right, stream over. We've built the theme.
We built a theme.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we need an index.php file. You did that already, and now we should probably make the. Did you activate that theme without an index.php?
I think so. Let's take a look.
Oh, you have Gutenberg installed, right?
Oh, that's the other thing. Yes, I have the Gutenberg plugin installed because some of these features. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Some of these features are going to be released. Well, the majority of these features are coming in 5.9, so that's not been released yet. So I've installed the Gutenberg plugin so we can use the editor, block themes, and all that stuff. So I have this all set up.
On the 5.9 release candidate, that probably would have not worked, but that's okay. Just because the index.php didn't exist.
Right.
So, but that's
a good point.
But that's the direction we're moving in, and it's all good. So now let's go ahead and make a functions.php file because we're going to need that.
Oops. PHP. Okay. I'm just going to do this. All right. We got those things.
Okay. So, all right, let's go into WordPress now and see if we can do the next bits. Oh, no, one more thing. We need a theme.json file.
Oh, yes, we do. Okay. So theme.json. Do we need anything in it at the moment, or can it just be?
So I would say what we should put in it is the schema line.
Okay.
And we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can remember this. It's wp.org. No, schemas.wp.org/trunk/theme.json. And that's let's see. Oh, schemas with an S. Okay. Yay! Great success. Okay.
Okay. Now we won't have to remember as much because it's going to help us fill it in. So
yeah,
let's move on to the next section, which is going to be version.
And so you'll notice, so this, I just want to call this out. So schema in VS Code, you need that to have this prompting going on. A lot of other IDEs, apparently PHP Storm just figures it out. So as long as you have, it will just figure it out. So this is basically, this is a redirect to trunk, which then it's also connected to the schema store. Is that the thing? Mm-hmm. But anyways, so we want version. So version 2. There is a version 1, and I believe if you use version 1, the WordPress will, make it version 2 for you. But anyways, you should start with version 2.
Yep, that will be the current version as of WordPress 5.9 and as of the current version of the Gutenberg plugin. Mm-hmm. And this should be enough to get everything working. So the next section that we will add is the settings section. So we can go ahead and add that and then leave it empty for the moment.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
I think maybe where we'll go next is let's create our first template.
Okay.
It will not have a header or a footer or a sidebar. It is intended to be like a splash page. So like a coming soon page. So if you were building this as a brand new site, you wanted to get something out there and then you wanted to be able to then iterate on it as you go along, this would be a way to do that. and it only requires the one single file. So, all right, so we'll do this. We'll go back over to the website and let's start building out what we want our file to, what our thing to look like. And it may be that we need one more file, but let's see what happens.
So do we go into the editor?
And into the editor. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think in without the Gutenberg plugin, well, that's interesting. So it looks like it's trying to use defaults. All right, so let's go add one more file to our directory. Okay. We're gonna add.
It's looking for header and it's looking for footer down here. It looks like.
Yeah, because that's the default for the template editor right out of the box. So what we actually want to do is go in and add first a directory called templates.
And then
a file called index.html.
Okay.
Okay, now let's save that and let's see if anything changed on the WordPress side.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, let's go back out to main WordPress, because this is a template editor and what we actually want is a site editor. There are two different things going on. And I think that by adding this, that's surprising. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, so go to appearance editor again.
Okay. So this is the index. It says it's loading index here.
Mm-hmm. And now click, I think this is still accurate. Click on the W. So and then go to templates.
Get index here.
And now add new on the right side.
Oh, sorry. Add new template. What do you want to, front page or page?
Yeah. Let's do a page. That way we're not setting the splash page as the home page for the long term.
Okay.
Okay, and now we can start building with blocks.
All right. So
maybe a cover block or something.
Cover block. What do we got in here? This looks like a good cover to use. There we go. Hello.
I like that.
There we go. Oh no. Clearly this is fine. All right. Save. So we save that. It's gonna save this to the template, right?
Yep.
So does that actually generate an HTML page for us? Or is that just in the database?
I think just a template. So not a file, just in the database. So there is a post type to store all of these custom templates in the database, but we are going to actually use the markup for this to create a file version of it.
Oh,
so nice. Let's see if we can figure that out. There's some things that have moved around and I'm not 100% sure if they are all still where I remember them being. So let's go into, there it is, export. So in that more tools and options drop down, then you can choose export there. And what that's going to do is take any of the templates that have been saved on this site and export them already set up and ready to install into a theme. So if you want to try that, we can see what it looks like.
Sure. So I just downloaded it. It gave me an export.zip.
And then within that, it should
parts templates. So it's got index, which is that, and then we've got page. Okay, so I should be able to take this now and move it into the theme, right? I can do that.
Yes. Yep. And you'll see when that was loaded up, the page.php or page.html was loaded. It didn't have the image showing because it was not the right reference. So if you include images in your templates, you have to make sure that it actually exists in that location once you've installed it.
Oh, I see. All right. So sorry, I gotta. Why is that so? Oh, up here. So we should have. So we have page index now, so we can look. So. Oh, I see. Okay. So that. All right. All right.
Now, one thing that you can do is make it a relative reference, but there are probably some pitfalls in doing that too, and it still does actually have to exist.
And for the sake of what we're doing, we should be fine here.
We should be fine, yeah, because it's going right back to the same site. All right, so because we call this page.html and because WordPress uses a template hierarchy, if we create a page now, this is a template that's going to be applied. It will already have that image and this is fine on it.
There we go. So clearly there's no content coming out yet. So we need to, because this is just the sample page that comes with it, which has its own content.
Right. So we basically replaced the standard template for a page with that, which has no loop on it.
Yeah.
And without a loop, we don't get our content that we save to our editor. So, but if we were really building a splash page, that would be okay, because we would just want it to be that. You want to, no matter what page somebody came to, we would want this to be the thing that displays. So you could also set that to your index.html file, not have the page.html file, and then that would always be what showed up no matter where you were on the site. It's not as sophisticated of a maintenance mode or a coming soon mode as a lot of plugins are, but it is fast and dirty and easy to do if you just want to get something up there. So we do actually have a working theme. It's not very good, but it does work.
But it works.
It does work. Yeah. And you can continue to build out those templates from within WordPress and then keep exporting as you go and putting them into your files.
If we did decide, so let's say, so we have our static page, right? If we decided now that we wanted to, instead of it being, we want to put in content. Is there a content block?
Yes. So let's go ahead and do that and look up query
loop.
I think it's a query loop. Yes. So query loop is like the wrapper for all of the content related blocks that we would want to include. And I think that so right now what we're seeing are some basically block patterns that would, or variations or something that would allow us to like get a head start on how we want it to look. It's going to include the title and a featured image and an excerpt and some things like that. So, and then within there, we can start working on the settings. So I think
I'm going to remove that because I grabbed the wrong thing. And this is a page. So I'm just going to do another one. Query loop.
Okay.
Oh, I can't type query loop. Query loop. And so if I just want to start blank, I want to get like, oh, this is neat. Because I just want, say, title, but not excerpt though.
Well, we can remove it afterwards. So just get the one that's closest and then you can adjust it from there.
Is there a way to switch variations?
I think that there might be a way to do that now. It might be under the more options though. Or it might still be something in progress. They may not have added that fully yet.
Yeah. So what we really want here though is not necessarily like a query. Like I mean, there's a loop in the strictest sense of the word on a page, but what am I doing here? But if we want, if you want like just page title.
Well, I think you still need to have a query loop in there, and then we can so there are inner blocks, and we can start removing the ones or modifying them so that so that we're still including the query. I think they probably have some safeguards in place so that if you don't include the query loop, it'll still work on that view. But I think it's just a good practice to have the loop in there.
All right, so we do title and date, and then.
Okay, so now let's click on the date. Let's go to the post date block. Since this is a page, we probably would not include a date, so we can just remove that block.
Remove that. Probably don't need pagination either. We don't need pagination because this is a page. And then, so we need to get some settings here because we just want to have, what is this? Query loop, content, query loop, advanced setting, inherit from the template, post type.
So now,
page.
Inside post template, we're going to add an inner block to the post template block of content. Post content.
Post content. There we go. Nice.
And that's about the simplest of a page you're gonna get. You know, you get your title, you get your content. There are other things that you could add, but for typically what you'll see is just that.
There we go. So we just okay.
It's not pretty, but it does work. And now, if we let's see. So this is now a page. So if we export this again, then you can save it. And now the top is static, that header image. It's not really a header in the sense that you would be able to use it in other places. But it looks like a header because it's at the top.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Ryan Tupo, welcome. Thank you for joining. Cool. All right. And it should be noted that we're not going to be editing the content in here. We're going to be editing it in the actual page itself. So if you go into the block editor for the page that you're editing, and you update this, you can see that this should update as well. But this is just a block that represents the content that you've written and the post title and all of that. So there's sort of two. You have to kind of think of it in two ways, like you're editing the template, as in you're editing a template, but not the content. The content can be whatever, but the content is not edited in here. It's just displayed in here. So I can see how there could be a bit of confusion. I don't know if you can actually go and edit that somewhere. I don't know, it'd be cool if you could jump right to it, but yeah, it's not there yet.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about how to handle that, and I don't actually know where it landed for sure. So
yeah. I am streaming today, Ryan Tupo. We're streaming block-based theme development. Thank you for joining. Cool. Okay. So we've got a couple of templates in there.
So let's see, what else should we add? We've got a page with the content. We've got a splash, or we don't have a splash page. Let's add a custom page template.
Cool.
Is that a good idea? All right.
It's a great idea.
So let's go ahead and go back into the editor.
Into the page editor or the
site editor.
Okay. In here?
Okay. Yep. And then open that up. Yep. And go to templates.
Templates. Add new.
Add new. And what are our options? Because I don't remember the list.
Front page, archive, search, and 404.
Okay. Let's, just for the sake of getting something as a starting point, let's go ahead and use front page. We're going to take this file and we're going to rename it to use it in a different way.
Okay.
But it'll get us started. So basically, we can't create a custom template directly here right now, but what we can do is get the file and then give it a name so that it becomes a template that we can select. So let's go ahead and build it out. And let's say this was going to be, let's call it landing page, just for funsies.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and do like maybe 3 cover blocks that do different things.
Okay. I'll do this.
Actually, I'm wrong. Let's not do it that way.
All right.
Let's add our query loop and just include the content, no title.
Content no title. I'll just put that one in, and then so what do we? This is a page. This is gonna be page content type, right?
Yeah. So now we can go ahead and just remove the things that we don't want.
And the pagination.
The easiest way is with that list view is so helpful when you're dealing with nested blocks because it shows you where everything is.
Sorry, so now we want to add a post content, right?
Post content, yeah, and then we'll remove the post title. So we could call it landing page. We could also just say content no title or something like that. That's a pretty common use case out in the world because when we create landing pages, we don't necessarily want there to be a title in the top. At the top, you might want to have more control over where it lives and what it looks like, because you'll be working with like a squeeze page kind of a format where it's just long text with lots of calls to action and such.
Cool. So do I need to save this before I can export it, or will it just export what's in memory?
I think it needs to be saved, but
we'll see. All right.
Now, when you export it, it's going to export all of the files. So you get everything all at once again. If you just wanted to get this one page, you can go to, let's see. I think you should be able to go to the outermost block. So in the list view.
And
then click that, and then, well, just select it, and then in the block editor area, you may be able to view it as HTML.
No, not letting me.
Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, well, you can just click copy. This is kind of a neat thing. Okay, and then go over to a file.
And what are we calling this again? Landing page, you said? No. So what are we going to call it?
So if you go back to the 2022 theme, there are some custom page templates. I think it's page dash landing. Just for the naming conventions.
Oh, that's 2021. I'm sorry, I'm looking at 2022. So page dash whatever. Yeah. Large header, no separators, page. Okay, so page
dash.
So, oh yeah. So I need to do page dash. I was to put the type dash. Page dash landing.
Now this is a time where that template hierarchy comes into place, because in classic themes, if you had a page dash landing.php file, WordPress would say, if you have a page, specifically a page that has a slug of landing, exactly landing, then this is the template that would be loaded. Here, it will do that. If we created a page that has a slug of landing, it will load this template, but we can also select it for other pages if we want to. So using the page attributes, we can select that template along with others as the template for that page. It's also much easier now to allow for custom templates for other post types like posts. Out of the box, it's just pages, I think, but you can very easily enable the option to allow for custom templates for other post types from your Theme.json file, which we can probably go over at some point when we get that far.
Cool. So I just pasted everything in that I copied. So that is this, all that thing, and it's got the block query and everything. So that was actually really painless.
So now if we create a new page in the site, we should be able to then select that page template.
Page attributes, template, default, front page, and page. Oh, is that because? Oh, wait a minute. Do I need to refresh? So it wants me to pick front page.
That was the one that we saved, so it's not showing up.
Did I put that in the wrong spot? So it's templates, page landing, HTML. Oh, it's fine.
Templates.
Templates.
Huh. All right, let's try something. Let's go over to I'm thinking. Sorry.
It's okay.
There is a section in Theme.json to define your templates, but I didn't think it was required. So that's possible that it changed and I didn't realize it. So let's go back to the 2022 Theme.json file.
Sure thing. 2022. Template parts. Oh, I think custom templates.
This is one of those times where sometimes it's really easier just to you were there. So custom templates.
So it looks like they have, that's a custom template that they have where they've got a name for it. So I bet we have to define it.
Yeah, what this section is supposed to be doing is saying that this page template is for this post type. So the page large header is enabled specifically for the page post type. So can you scroll up just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because there was something at the top I wanted to see. Not all the way at the top of the file, just the top of custom templates.
That's this
name blank, title blank.
So they have a blank.html in here.
Oh, they do. Okay. All right. So that blank.html can be used on either posts or pages.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. I'm not sure what they're doing there. So I'm gonna we should just grab this. We should go into our here and we'll do custom templates. It's an array of objects, and I can't remember what we need in there, but we need I'm just gonna steal this. Got the whole object in here.
Name, title, and post types.
So the name is going to be the actual file name without the HTML, right? So this will be landing. Oh God, landing. I'll say page. I'll just call this landing, and it'll be for the type of page. Cool. So now if I reload this, doesn't show up there. If I reload this.
It probably won't show there, but it hopefully will show when in the template dropdown. And it doesn't.
I'm gonna add a new page. Let's see what happens there. That's interesting.
Okay, now I feel like we're working backwards, but let's go into the settings and we're gonna do a theme supports of.
Okay.
Let's see if there is a theme supports for that. I'm gonna go hit the docs real quick.
Sorry, I have that. Okay, so layout? No. So these are the options we have for us. We have blocks, border, color, custom, layout, spacing, typography. So it's super odd that page large header. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not doing anything silly here.
Yeah, there's no supports for that. Well, there must be a reason it's not working. Let's just see if we can figure out what it is.
Let me just make sure. Maybe I need to like empty caches and things because it is. Nope, not there. We go to editor. You can add a template file by a plugin that adds a CPT. That's a great question, Paul. Can you add a template file via a plugin that adds a custom post type?
Theoretically, so what it usually comes down to is what order are things firing in. So if everything's firing in the right order, then yes, you should be able to.
Because when there is a post type that represents these template files, so you could technically create a new template like you could insert a post. I'm assuming. I don't know how you like. You might have to filter some other things. I don't know all of the sort of thing, the ins and outs of that specifically, but in theory, you should be able to do that. I would imagine. All right, cool. All right, so page landing, custom templates. We don't. There's nothing that we have to enable in functions, is there?
I don't think so. Title, post types, everything looks right. Unless we've got an extra bracket here.
Oh, did I? Yeah, did I take settings out? Maybe.
I think you've got a stray at the end.
A stray what?
Square bracket.
No, shouldn't.
Oh no, I see it.
That's yeah, and then that was there. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna close. We have too much open here. All right, I'm gonna try it again. No, it doesn't want to show up. I wonder why. And it doesn't show up anywhere in here. Okay. Well, maybe we should get into the settings and we can figure this out because we kind of jumped ahead a bit and sort of what we were thinking, right? So why don't we park this and we'll figure it out offline. But in the meantime, we can talk about the settings and what that does and how that affects things.
All right. So in settings, there are two types of configurations that you're going to be able to create. One is presets. These are things that you would be populating a drop-down menu of. Some good examples are like not always a drop-down menu, but anything that would be a selection of multiple values. Most commonly, you will see these for color palette, where you get your little circles with the predefined colors. You would have gradients, which are your starting and ending values, and at what point it starts to gradiate and all of those kinds of things. You have your duotones, which are color pairs, which would be a light color and a dark color that you would, or primary and secondary color. I think that they've played around with the way that they name that. That would then convert images to be two colors instead of lots of colors, kind of like a colorized grayscale is basically what it ends up being. So those are the color ones. And then we have font sizes, we have font units, there's quite a few. So, and then we have font families. So we can actually create some custom font options that are specific to your styles. And I think you said that you have some fonts that you wanted to use.
Yeah. So let's put some colors in. So I have a website that's gonna look like this that we're gonna kind of mess with. So I have some colors. We have this sort of I'm gonna say it's orange colorblind. It's kind of dark gray, and then the white, and then we have a font. It's a Google font that we're gonna use here. So let's get these in. And then we can start to see how that affects the blocks and things like that. So I guess we start with our color, right? So we need a palette, I think, right? And that's just an array of objects. Let's look at let's look at this theme.json, for example. So we got palettes, colors in here somewhere. Duotone. Sorry, palette. Yeah, so it's just an object. Looks like this. So I've got some colors. Call this. This is sort of orange color that I like. And if anyone wants to give it a better name, because it's probably not actually orange. We can do that. Enjoying the stream, by the way. Oh, thanks, Tom. That's great. I'm so glad you're here. So I got 3 colors that I want to add here. I'm going to add the orange, that sort of dark gray, and then that I'm going to add white in there, which we may not necessarily need because you can actually get access to the
all color palette.
Yeah. Doc Geary? No. Is it gray or gray? I'm going with that one. And then, so I'm just going to leave that off. And let's just see what this does. So we have this, right? So we define a color palette. Come in. We'll go into a post here. Add a new post. And this is, so we come over here. We have color. So now we see our text color. Something's not right here. Something's going weird. Because why is... I don't know if is our theme.json not getting parsed for some reason.
Maybe.
Because that doesn't make, because there should be color palettes in here. So we turn, so what we can, so background, so we can control background color and text color, right? So if we set background to true and we set text to up here, this will give us controls to manage the background color and the text color of blocks. If we set this to false, we shouldn't get those. I'm wondering if maybe this is just not loading it for whatever reason, our theme. Because if I go in here in colors, I have text and I have background, and those aren't the colors that I've defined. Let's just see what the heck is going on.
It's not loading them.
I'm gonna activate this, and I'm gonna activate, is it this one?
Well, that one should also have them. TT1 blocks is the...
Go in here. Did I do color on this one? No, I didn't. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to my pages. I'll edit this page. I should see. Is this this is a query, but what the heck? A quote block, paragraph block. Okay, I think it's working now because I have no color backgrounds in there. Yes. Anyhow, so let's go back to our, let's actually refresh this to editor and see what was I doing. Oh wait, no, I have to go to a post, right? A page, right? Default template. There's our template. Okay, so that was so our JSON just wasn't loading. So what we were doing was actually right. We defined a custom template, page landing, and it's for the type post. It's in there now, all good. Okay, so if we look here and we go, okay, I've turned background color off. So these, if you think of setting, like especially when you're talking about blocks, when you think of the settings, this is all the blocks are gonna get these settings, and later on you can override that at a block level. But in the meantime, I'm gonna just turn this off. I'm just gonna remove that because this should now give us some color. We've got text, and then there we go. So these are the theme. These are the palette. This is the palette that we just defined. So we have that orange color, we have that gray color, and then we also have all these default colors, which you can turn off as well, I believe, right? I think it's default.
It's default colors, I think.
Showing
disable
this. Let's just see what this does. And yeah, there we go. So you can turn off the default palette at the settings level, but you can also dark gray slug and name are wrong. They are dark.
They both say orange, I think.
Oh, do they? Yeah, they do. Oh God, thanks, Paul. See, I'm not the only one who can typo. So dark gray. I keep doing that, man. Okay, great, awesome, perfect. Okay, so if you wanted to turn off all the default palettes that come with every theme, like this default palette is no space in slug. There's no space in the slug? I don't have a space in the slug. Do I have a space in the slug?
There shouldn't be a space in a slug.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Paul's just, he's commenting on my, you fixed it there. Perfect, awesome. Cool, so that does that. Yeah, so we have some custom colors defined now, which it actually worked, but you can't really see it very well. And then the background, make it orange. We can do that. So now we've got those colors. That's cool. Got about 15. You know what? We can probably go a bit longer here too. So awesome. So we have the colors that I've defined. Now we want to set the fonts, right? How do we set the font style? No.
Okay. Yeah.
Font families.
Font
Sorry, I'm totally driving this now. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're doing great.
Let me get my notes.
I'm
so font families again.
Cross-referencing some documentation and finding some little empty spots here where they
little
should
things.
be.
So where is the? Okay, so font families. Okay, so it's an array of objects again. So if I just put one in here. Font family.
And so just to break it down, we've got what the actual font stack is. You can see the system and then the blink. So these are mostly system fonts, right?
Yeah. I just copied and pasted that. So
yeah.
I do actually have somewhere over here. I think I've got it. Do I have it? Did I get rid of it? No, here it is. So that's
just if I can just keep going through it. Name is going to be the human readable name, and the slug is going to be the system readable name.
Okay. So I have a font that I use. It's Google font. I just stole it. I'm just going to replace that. So that's the name of the font that I want. I'm just going to call this whatever. I'll give it the name of the font. Yeah. And then same thing. Go to.
So another thing you could do if you wanted to use semantic naming instead of the name of the font, you could say what you intend to use the font for.
Yeah, so like main font. Say primary font. There we go. So we'll go or primary. And this is probably a much better way of doing it because that makes sense, right? Okay, so we have that. So this isn't just gonna do it though, right? Like if I get where'd the screen go?
What this will do is if you want to just demonstrate it'll make it so you can set this as the font from the block editor. What it will not do is enqueue the fonts so that they will be visible on your site. So to do that, we'll have another step.
So we'll go into functions. We'll do that in functions. To save a bit of time, I've actually, because I don't really know how to code, I Google everything. I have grabbed this, and I'm just going to put that in there. So I'm going to enqueue. Oh, this should be actually a function name. So I'm going to go to function name, function enqueue, whatever, Twitch fonts. And then I'll grab my enqueue, and I'll drop it in there. And then I'll just do this, and this, and figure out why there's all kinds of weird typos going on here. Boom, I don't need that. And then this goes like that. That looks right to me. Twitch fonts, Twitch fonts, Twitch fonts. So this should enqueue the font, hopefully. I'll refresh it. And I don't think anything changed. So let's see.
So what we've done so far is, because if you didn't select this font in the content of this post, then it's not gonna be there.
Oh yeah, I totally didn't do that.
Yeah.
So
because we have not set the style yet. The style is what would set the default.
That's why. Mm-hmm. So I don't even have appearance default. I don't have font selection, do I?
Might have to actually enable it in the settings.
All right, let's go back to settings. Okay. So as you can tell, this is like super low level. Like it's like you need to tell it what needs to be done, right? So font, custom font, font sizes, font weight.
Disable custom font sizes. So it's actually not in the docs. So that's not good.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's see. I did not. Oh, I wonder if we have the same problem where we're saving it and it's not loading it correctly. Like if you might have to reactivate the theme
there
again?
there was a question about that, and no, you shouldn't have to deactivate and reactivate your theme. This just might be my system acting up a little bit, so that you should just be able to reload the theme. But I'm just going to test that again. Let's see what we got. Typography, font family. That looks like that's what's going on there. Okay, so that's our font family. And if I refresh this, we have the font that I wanted here. That's really annoying that I have to do that, but I think that's just for this stream. That's not going to be something that you should be dealing with regularly. But it is something to keep in mind because it is, it's JSON, it's cached, fun stuff, right? Okay, so we've got our font family defined, and we got some colors, and we can clear that. Cool. So what do you think we should do next?
All right, so let's say we wanted to make that font be the one that is default, right?
Perfect.
So now we move into the next section of the Theme.json, which is styles. And one thing that I think has been a little confusing to the community is that styles does not just mean like CSS my site. Okay, if you think of styles as your default settings for all of the controls that you can use in the block editor, one of which is your font family on text. Okay, so what we're going to do is tell WordPress that we would like to use this primary font family as the main font for the site instead of whatever the default font stack is. It's just loading maybe just by your browser. Okay.
Cool.
And the way we will do it's going to be in styles and then typography, I believe.
And then font family. And then I'm assuming I would indicate the slug, right?
It's actually you're going to do var because what we're doing here is setting CSS custom variables. So we're giving it the var, and then WordPress is actually based on that font family that we created in the preset. It's going to create the selector that we will use as our variable. So I think it's going to be
is there a way is there a way to like see it defined in your elements somewhere?
That would be kind of handy. I don't know if it's a thing. Well, yes, you should be able to. So if we go to where you used it and view the source, you should be able to see how it named it.
Like the source. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like
or inspect it
on the block itself, right?
Yeah, because it's gonna give it a
block quote. It's this one.
So over in if you look, has primary font family, because we called it primary, and then you can see the var WP preset over in the sidebar that you just made small. That's not the variable. So
right there. WC that one right there.
Yeah. So we've got all of this WP preset font family primary with double dashes in certain places.
So that would be what we.
That's the one that we want.
Okay. So you can think of this. This is just generated for you, right? WP preset font family dash and then whatever your slug name is here. So we call this Ryan can't type worth shit. Then this would be Ryan can't type worth shit, right? So that's yeah. Okay.
So there is a pretty consistent naming convention that's used. So WP preset is pretty straightforward because it's WordPress, and we set a preset of primary, and then font family is the thing, and then it's only got a single dash between because that's just a single one, and then the double dash, and then primary is the slug that we gave it. So you can see that there is actually a scaffolding that's used to build out what that is going to be.
So this is the prefix. This, I'm guessing, is the name of whatever the thing is. So if we were to do like color, maybe like, and then the name, like I don't know if that's gonna work, but yeah. Okay, so this would be the default. So if I come back here now, and I go into here, I hope I don't have to reload this again. Oh no. So now it's preset to the font family that we wanted. Beautiful, right?
And so if you're not familiar with CSS custom variables, you can think of it a little bit as native Sass. It doesn't do everything that Sass does, but it doesn't have any kind of a build step. It's not pre-processed in the sense that you have to like keep it in sync with your source files, but it does give you a lot of the same abilities as far as like we've defined the color with this exact name in one place, and now we can use it a whole bunch of places. And if we wanted to change the color, or in this case the font, if we wanted to make it some other font, all we would have to do is change it where it's defined in settings, and it would propagate across the whole site everywhere that variable had been used. So that is an argument for using semantic names in your things, because we might say, oh, well, now our primary font is Comic Sans.
And it looks like on the body class here, I'm seeing a bunch of variables set. So those are the color variables. That's the orange variable. That's the name of the dark gray variable. This stuff is all coming from WordPress. I think these are gradients. So if we turn the gradient palette off, I would imagine that these don't show up anymore.
Unclear,
but maybe they do. And then there's font sizes, and then we have our primary font family. So this is another place to go and get all of those variables.
And you can use them anywhere. So if we were to start using these variables in our style.css, we can still take advantage of all of these variables being defined in Theme.json. Some people will put some in their CSS and some in their Theme.json. I think it's awesome to put them all together, because as this set of features matures, keeping it all together makes a lot of sense to me. But it's a personal choice.
Dig Amber, that's a great suggestion. I do have script debug set to true here. I'm not sure why it's caching. Maybe there's another constant that I need to look into to having this thing not cache. But I mean, it's clearly a caching issue. So I'll have to figure that out. Sorry, Kruskis, you had a question. If you're planning to push block-based theming that much harder over the coming year, are you going to open up the API for abstraction layer for block creation? I'm not pushing anything. One, that's gonna be a question for the core team. I would imagine as this matures, APIs will be opened up. I mean, I don't know for sure. It's just sort of getting it's being released, kind of, right? I imply the role. Yes, I know I'm being facetious, but thank you. I mean, extensibility is a huge thing. So being able to have APIs and things available to developers is going to be a really big deal. That's my non-committal sort of politically correct answer, I guess. But yeah, good question though. Very good question. Cool. Okay, so we have a font family defined now, and what else? So we're almost to noon here, but that's fine. I can run a little long, Daisy, if you want to as well. If there's anything else that we absolutely want to talk about,
I'm happy to continue or not.
Cool. So I want to set the background color of my site to the dark gray. How do I do that?
Okay, so we're going to do that in our styles section.
Okay.
And we are going to use the color styles option, and then we are going to use background.
Okay, so I'm gonna so I'm gonna use a preset. So this is that. The preset's gonna be color, I assume.
Color
and then the name of the color, right? So the slug of the color. So I'm gonna say slug, dark gray, and this is
and then
also.
I think you're missing a couple of things. We need an extra dash between WP and preset.
Oh, you sure? Yep.
I'm sure. And then between color and dark.
Yeah. Okay. So the single dashes, double dashes are, well, everything's a double dash, it looks like, except if it's a two-word sort of attribute name, if you will. So
As
we're talking
part
about
of the
font
slug.
family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So plugins only, I'd say. Okay, a couple questions here. Sorry, I'm just going to just pause.
Mm-hmm.
Is it standard to include blocks in a block-based theme, or would they be solely go in plugins? Because the theme is still a theme, you have PHP, you can do whatever you want in there. However, keep in mind that without doing some gymnastics, it's very, very hard to register a block from a theme. The block registration API, the register block type call on the PHP side, is expecting that it's coming from a plugin. It is doable. You can filter the plugin's URL to be the theme URL while you're registering these things. I've done it in the past. You can do it, but that's going to be a stumbling block if you want to bundle it with your theme. Plugins only. Block patterns are okay, of course, to include Yep, you can absolutely include block patterns in a theme. Block patterns will often include custom blocks, I guess. So maybe they'll go MU plugin. Yeah, Tom, that's a really great question, and a really it's if you're building something that, like, for a client, like when I was in agency days, and Daisy, please free to jump in here if I'm talking out of my butt, but it was always a question of like, okay, so now we have a plugin, they can turn a plugin off, now they've disabled all their blocks, right? So we used to figure it out. We figured out a way of doing it to register those blocks in the theme, and that made life a little easier. But then you're like, if you want to change your theme in a year, then you have to move away all your blocks as well. So, plugin's a good idea too. Yeah, because block patterns in a plugin. Yeah, you can do that.
If you wanted to make it so that your client could not disable the plugin, I've seen developers use a must-use plugin that would automatically activate it. That can get a little dicey in a maintenance world because you might not remember to look there. I've done that many times. It's one thing to think about when you are working with blocks. While you will not, depending on the nature of the block. If the block is primarily markup that's been generated and saved in the post, those blocks will still persist beyond the lifespan of the code that created them. Yep. But if you have a dynamic block that really does rely on that core code that was used to create it, then it really will just blow up.
There's no right. I don't think, in my opinion, there's not a like do it this way. It really depends on what you're doing. Like if you have an MU plugin and you're running on a network and multiple sites are on that network, maybe you don't want all those blocks on all those site networks, right? So that's going to rule that out. But in a single site, that might be a great place to keep people from disabling those blocks that they need. If you're trying to bundle, like if you're trying to distribute a theme, like a premium theme, for example, and you need to have a certain set of blocks to make that work, putting them in the theme might make sense. But again, there's those sort of hurdles you have to run through. So I think there's a few different ways to kind of figure out what that is, but it's possible to do it. And I can definitely show you how. I've got a snippet somewhere that I can, it's just basically filtering the plugin's URL to be whatever the style sheet URL is. And that's kind of a hack, but if you filter it first, then register your blocks, then remove that filter, it works. But yeah, anyways, great, really great questions. Thanks everyone for these awesome, fantastic questions. Cool. Yeah, cross keys, that's a good point. I mean, it depends, you're mixing your, you want to keep your things separated, what am I trying to say? You're mixing your concerns. You want to separate your concerns a bit, but anyways. All right, so let's look and see what styles, adding the background color to styles does to the site. So I'm going to just get rid of this. So if I refresh this, hey, great success. So clearly the font is wrong. So I'm going to make it, I want to make the text font. I'm just guessing that I can do this. Text.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go, so I have it. Okay, so here's a preset -- color -- I'm just gonna put white. because I'm assuming that
I
is
think
just
that's
gonna
in
be
the defaults.
Yeah, in the defaults. Oop, nope, didn't work.
You know what? They may
Let's
have
see.
done semantic naming for all that too, but no, they
Okay.
didn't.
Well,
They didn't.
let's look and see. So, I didn't define this. I could define it. I didn't. But I could define it. So we got
It's
preset
probably
dash
in
dash.
there.
It's right there. I wonder if I just called it wrong. Let's look. Dash. Oh yeah. See, I didn't put the WP at the beginning. That'll do it every
WP.
time. WP dash dash preset dash dash color dash dash white. Get rid of this. Refresh. There. This is starting to look into a theme. Or starting to look into a theme? It's not even English, right? What am I saying? It's starting to look like a theme. That's awesome. So, okay. So what would we do next? What do you think we would do next at this point? And do we have enough time to do it in this stream, or sure, is this a good place to stop and continue next week?
I like that we got a couple of different styles in there and demonstrate that what we're doing is setting a default.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just talk about the layers of styles that you can do for just a minute.
Sure.
And we'll do more of this in our next stream. But when you're talking about your styles, you have your root styles, which would be like your color background, color text, typography, font family. Those are at the root. So those are going to be applied to your body tag, and then cascaded down to where they need to be. There are also a few elements that can be styled in this way. So we could set like a default font for our H1 tag, for example. I think that the options are link. So you can go to the A selector, H1 through H6, and that's it.
Is that
so?
Is that under elements? Would that be under elements?
It is, yes, under elements. Mm-hmm. So you can set an H1. And then all of the things within that could be typography, color, and all of the other things that we can set.
So let me just, so we are saying here, so this is not, so this is not the block that manages this, right?
Right.
Okay, so if I say I want to have
specific elements,
let's say I want the color, the back.
So it'd be typography first.
Sorry.
Did you get that?
No. What's the typo? Okay, I'll put typography in there.
No, it's inside color. You're going to do typography. Oh, wait.
Oh,
no, you're right. You're right. And then color inside that. So
H1 exactly to color, right? So let's say that I want to have all my backgrounds be the orange color. I don't know why I do this, but I'm going to do that. So instead of dark gray, I'm going to make the background orange, and then the text, right? It won't be with that. I'm going to make it the dark gray. This is going to look horrible.
But it does demonstrate it very effectively.
Right? So great. So now any H1s that appear anywhere on my site will have this default setting, right?
Yes.
I think. So do I have any H1s in here? Maybe I need to put an H1 in, I think. Oh no, I do, but I'm not showing it. That's the title.
Because of the landing page, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a header. A header block. Heading block, and it'll be, did I say H1? I said H1. There we go. So it's picking this up automatically. You can see we've got, that's really nice. This is like the color contrast thing. So clearly this is not a good selection, but we knew that going into it. We'll take a look and refresh. Oh, what?
Is there anything in that heading tag? Is there text there? It's just.
Oh my god! Oh, this is
just a
heading
placeholder.
Thing. Oh, that's exactly what it was. It's my first day with WordPress, everyone. Thank you. Oh, such a dope.
Placeholders will kill you every time.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. And I'm going to edit this page. I'm going to make this an H1 because that's actually what we. This is bad at SEO because you shouldn't have. Your page title should be your H1, but I don't know. There we go. So all that to demonstrate that adding this element to the H1, we can override the sort of defaults of color, right? And then set it on a per element basis. Caching on a local site, is that a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. There's browser caching because JavaScript and JSON they tend to be cached by browsers a little bit. So, anyways, yeah, okay, great. So that's pretty awesome. Is the query block required for single page posts? Isn't it usually for archive pages? Well, if you think about it, in the context of like the way we used to build things, you would have the loop, right? So you would have the, while posts, if post, the post, right? That's what the query block does. So you would do that on a single page. You would do that on a single post. You'd do that wherever you needed to get content out of the database. You would need to do that. So yes, did Jamber 89. You do need to query block. That's how we do the loop without having to write code. I think that's right. Daisy, correct me if I'm wrong, but so that's the idea behind it. Yeah.
So the loop sometimes only has one post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is basically what you're getting on a single. It probably will pull it in correctly if you don't use the query loop on a single, but I think I feel like for myself I would prefer to just have that practice in place that I include the query loop. And then it gives you some settings too. You can refine it a little bit more. Yeah.
So that's what I was playing around with in here was the settings for this thing here. If you grab the query loops, there's all this content in here. Inherit query from template. I'm not totally sure what this does because this didn't fix our problem. It did kind of fix our problem, I guess, but let's just see. Okay, so this is the post that I just edited. We have the title. We have this stuff that I added. Now this is coming in from somewhere. So if I come back to the I'm not in the post content. I'm in the block editor, the page landing template editor. If I select that, this makes sense to me in as in like whatever the global post is, whatever the post is. Simple sphere. That's a loaded question. Give me a few minutes and we'll talk about it. This I think is going to say, give me whatever should be loaded on this page. So we hit this, save it, and then refresh the post or the page that we just made. You see that we're just getting the actual page content. I think if you have this disabled, you can actually go in here and it's doing a query for the first page. That's I bet is what's happening. It's saying it's doing WP query, post type is page, and we're getting the most recent one or the most recently published one. I think that's what it was.
And that does actually make sense because the query loop block does not only have to be used for your standard content use cases. Mm-hmm. It can also be pulling in a list of recent posts or any kind of a query you want to include. So you might be including multiple queries on the same view. Think about like putting in a list of pages. I don't know that you would use this for this, but like a list of pages in your footer, or you could have like last 3 posts that would also maybe go into your footer or into a sidebar or something. So you would potentially be running multiple loops on the same view.
Yeah, and like lots of publisher sites have like the waterfall, right? Where they'll have like, here's the 3 most recent posts from category X and then category Y and category Z. And so, that's what this query block will allow you to do. Cool. Does anyone have, I think we're going to probably call it here. We're almost at 12:30. Daisy, unless there's anything that you wanted to specifically...
No, I feel like this is a good pause point.
Cool. Simple Sphere, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Daisy, it's been a blast. This has been fun. I've learned a ton. Yeah, I've learned a lot. Thanks everyone for coming. We're going to be doing this probably, I think we planned for about 4, maybe 3, 4. We're going to aim for 4. And hopefully by the end of it, we have a fully functioning theme. And you know what? And this will all be available on the repo. I'm going to link the repo again. So this will be linked I'm gonna update the repo and I'll push this up. It'll be in its own branch and merged into the trunk, and then you can feel free to mess around with this. Also in that stream, or sorry, in that repo, there's issues. If you want to see something that's streamed, if you have a question about anything that was streamed, or you find if something's broken in the code, which is a very real possibility because I wrote it, open an issue, and yeah. Otherwise, I think we'll call it, and it's been a blast, and we'll see you a week today. Bye, everyone.